Good morning. Morning, Tyre. How you doing today? Morning, Duck Dog. What is up? 23,297. Okay. Yes. Okay. It has been a long time since I've dealt with the Julian counter there. Yeah, sleepy music. Yeah. Hey, Sean. It's free stuff, and I'm getting tired of getting copyright strikes or copyright notes on my system, on my streams. I did just find out that Russia's banned me, or they've banned a couple of my streams. That just absolutely breaks my heart that Russia has banned me. Oh, I must be getting somewhat, I must have hurt somebody's feelings. I mean, come on. I average 10 views a stream. 10. I barely make it into double digits. And I'm so far from triple digits it hurts. And big old bad Russia banned a couple of my streams. Ooh, that hurts. I mean, you'd think they had better things to do with their time than coming after me. Banning this little voice. No, that's not a bad idea, Tyre. Banned in Russia. Put that up there. Put that across my stuff. Yep. Now banned in Russia. Oh, but let's see here. Got some fun things to go about today. Where is that story? Okay. Y'all know I'm a gun guy. And I'm not that guy that runs around with I've got an arsenal. God, I mean, I wish I could afford to have that covert room with nothing but you know, a half a dozen or a dozen pistols, another dozen revolvers, a few shotguns and rifles of all shapes and sizes hanging on the wall, and hundreds of thousands of rounds sitting there. I mean, now I've got a couple of thousand rounds in my house, but it's also ammunition for one, two, three different guns. One of which is two of which are no four different guns, and two of which are 22s. And I've got about give or take 1,000 to 1,500 rounds per gun. So I mean, and if you go to the range, you can blow through a few hundred rounds in nothing. Yeah, you're right, Sean. Because I'm definitely not pro Ukraine. Hey, morning, Ramen. So when I read a story, a headline, that gun shop refused to sell a gun to someone. Not that they didn't pass a background check, but they refused to sell a gun. The guy's complaining his Second Amendment rights have been tarnished. They've been hurt. It makes, I've got to, what is going on here? Because I mean, I'm a firm believer, if as long as you're not a convicted felon, um, and you haven't had your rights restored, you should be able to go in and buy any gun. I'm actually against background checks. I really and truly am. I'm against background checks. Um, Name me one other right that you have to prove you have the right to do to exercise. You know, well, granted, okay, you have to have the right to vote. You do have to show that you are a citizen of where you're casting a ballot, but that's to keep ballot voting fair and square. But do you have to prove anything to travel? Do you have to prove anything to, practice a religion? Do you have to prove anything to, be a free press? You don't. Oh, I'm glad I'm sound. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot. I actually woke up hungry today. I've done something I haven't done in a long time, and I actually ate two bowls of cereal today. Yeah, well, you got the left claiming that nobody should be required to show an ID to prove who they are to vote. So anyway, back to this story here. Florence, Oregon man claims gun store violated his Second Amendment rights for his Antifa support. A Florence, Oregon man was being refused a gun transfer and background check, not by the government, but by the store. Why? Because he handed over, unprompted, a card stating his support for Antifa. Now, here is the card that he handed them. All right. Anti Gang Stalking Center, TargetedJustice.com, Peace Pink, something, something or another, uh, Stop EG, whatever the hell that is. Fight Gang Stalking, Target Awareness, WordPress.com, WAPTSD or SO.org, RoseCityAntifa.org. And he's upset that he showed that to the gun shop owner or the person handling the transaction. And Mark Lancelli Now, I looked up Mark Lancelli, Google search on this morning, and the only other thing besides this is he was convicted, then had overturned an arrest for handing out jury nullification paperwork in front of a courthouse prior to or during a trial, and he was arrested for jury tampering. Well, and he was arrested, charged, convicted. He appealed the conviction up to the Supreme Court, not this, to the state Supreme Court, and they overturned his conviction, as it should be. You've got the right to hand out flyers. And if you're outside the courthouse, you're on the public streets, too bad, so sad. All right. Mark Lancelli says the Florence gun shop won't give him one, meaning he can't get the gun he bought online when he lived in Colorado. Lancelli said a routine background check required to get his already purchased gun had turned into a major headache. It's because I had given him this business card. He said he didn't feel good about it because he didn't support Antifa, and I explained to him it's more like a movement, referring to the card he presented to the gun store owner, including links to several websites about self-defense, including one operated by the Portland-based Antifa group. You know, I've never actually gone up there and marched with Antifa, but he's adamant he wasn't going to sell me a firearm. All right, now, if I was to go into a gun shop and I was to want to buy a gun and they're getting ready to do the background check and I hand them a card stating support for Hamas, a card supporting, stating support for the uh, Red Flag Battalion, supporting the KKK, supporting the Black Panthers, supporting any of these radical groups, I would fully expect not to have the guy, sell me my guns. Because these are all radical groups with known histories of violence. So the gun shop owner would be in deep trouble if he had sold that gun to this guy and that guy had gone out and shot someone. And then the background check, the police would have been doing their checks on him and everything else, and the me to be in there, and well, he had this background and this and this and this, and you've seen the they put the press in a bit of a pickle. Do they yell at the gun shop owner for selling him the gun, knowing that he was a member of Antifa? And they should have not sold him the gun because of that, or they just, well, you shouldn't have sold him that gun. And he went there and he bought that gun. Well, did he pass his background check? Yeah, but they knew that he had some questionable uh, ties to groups, and they just sort of leave it like that. They wouldn't tell you that was Antifa, or they downplay that part. And I agree with you on that, Tired. You don't have to. Business owners have got the right to refuse business to anyone. All right. The gun store owner is perfectly within his rights to refuse to transfer the firearm. I have sold and transferred guns many times, both as an independent dealer and as an employee, starting when I was a teenager working a sporting goods counter at Woolco in Cedar Falls in the late 70s. I can think of several occasions which I flatly refused to sell a gun to a certain person because something felt wrong or because of even more obvious reasons. One man, already in the paperwork process of buying a small pocket pistol, commented to me, "My in-laws won't be giving me any more now that I have this. At which point I terminated the transaction and told him to get lost. That is what a responsible gun store does. A gun store dealer, a guns dealer, an FFL holder does that stuff. If something don't seem right, they don't sell it. Now this is up in Oregon. There, Tyre wasn't here in Florida. Lanicelli feels his Second Amendment rights to bear arms has been violated by the Florence gun shop, making him unable to complete his gun purchase. Lanicelli felt the shop denied his background check because of its personal business card that included the link to the website and affiliated with Antifa. In addition, the gun store should not be able to decide whether or not to give a background check based upon political affiliation. If your political affiliation is with a known terrorist group like Antifa, yeah. There wasn't that, it was just a couple years ago, Crowder sent one of his guys undercover with Antifa. This just happened to, I just happened to remember this. And the group and the people that this guy was talking to was telling him how to get weapons, how to, how to do a whole lot of illegal or sketchy shit. And Crowder turned the videotapes and such and audio tapes over to the police. And if, huge if here, if I remember correctly, the cops did nothing about it. And I believe Crowder was rightly, quite proudly uh, angry about that. Because these people were, again, if my memory serves me correctly, they were doing some pretty sketchy stuff there. Um, but yeah, there is a definite. I've got no problem with this. I've got no problem whatsoever. Again, the gun store owner and their employees have got a responsibility. You got somebody in there raising the hackles, the hairs on the back of your neck that something is sketchy. You don't sell them the gun. You don't sell them the weapon. They want to come in and buy a bunch of tanninite, and there's something feeling sketchy about it. You don't sell it to them. You just don't. You've got that right to refuse business. That, yeah, I mean, if you're, uh, and this is the problem, Tyre, that too many people allow the media to determine who is and isn't a terrorist organization. They let the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, determine who is and isn't a good or bad organization. And they don't look at what political biases and leanings and such that these organizations have. Um, like just recently, I believe the BBC they fired a few of their journalists for being pro Hamas, and then they quietly hired a couple of them back. They very publicly fired them, then quietly hired them back, saying, "Well, they promised to keep their personal views out of their reporting." Now this here's an op-ed piece, obviously coming from Red State. The Second Amendment rights of Lannicelli or anyone else are not part of this issue. In this case, the second just isn't part of the discussion. It's revealing the Lannicelli's lack of understanding of Civics 101. No government official denied his Second Amendment rights. They are intact. Yeah, they are intact. Just because this business owner decided he was not going to do business with them because of this reason does not mean that his rights have been violated. Remember, lefties, let me remind you of something. Private business, for years, y'all have had no problem with the government stepping in with all the social media companies. And, oh, you anybody saying this, anybody saying that, muzzle them, ban them, shadow ban them. We can't have these people saying these things. And y'all were fine with that because it was a private company doing it. It wasn't the government, it was a private company. Well, that's what this is. This is a private company that determined they were not going to do business with this man. Normally, I have heartburn. I would have heartburn with it, but this is a situation where, yeah, hey, they're right. They're protecting themselves from being involved in a lawsuit if this nutcase gives that gun to some other Antifa member, and somebody else gets shot with it. And are you going to take his word that if he's carrying around business cards to hand out to people pronouncing and supporting Antifa, but he says he's never been to an Antifa march, he's never done anything with Antifa, do you really want to believe that? I sure as hell don't. Back to the article here. That's just not an issue. What has happened is that the responsible gun store owner, after the revelation of the transferee being sympathetic to a group known for political intimidation, physical attacks, and rioting, refused to be a party to transferring a firearm to that person. Again, that's exactly what I'm saying. The man has the person doing this sale, man, woman, child, it doesn't matter, whoever it was. They're well within their rights to do so, and it was the responsible thing as a gun store owner or a gun store employee, as an FFL dealer, to refuse to give a card, to give a gun to a man who is showing this card. Okay, if it was a pro-communist card, I would also do it. If it's a pro-PLO card, I would refuse. Pro-Hamas, I would refuse. Any group known for violence, recent violence, because you're advertising your danger. You're advertising that you're a danger to the community. And you're advertising dangerous groups. And you're doing it without being asked. So you're also now recruiting for these groups. Yeah, Sean Tyre. Sean, he needs to type in all caps. That's pretty well. He's been. That's something we've known for a long time. So anyway, so I mean, thank goodness for this store. Thank goodness for this employee or store owner. Who knows how many lives he may have saved by refusing to give up that gun, or yeah, by refusing that transfer. Now this one isn't on my headline thing, but a nice little break. Um, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, uh, daughter of Mike Huckabee, former governor and talk show host, she's drawing some fire from the lefties, from the progressive lefties, from the LGBTQ plus Tango Mike AFU lefties. And it's because of an executive order she signed. Hey, Retro, how you doing today, my friend? Now we know, the left has been all about the past couple of years. I mean, even to the point that we've got a Supreme Court justice who can't define what a woman is. She's smart enough and educated enough to be a Supreme Court justice, but she has no clue what the hell a woman is. And she said so. She admitted it in open hearings on the Senate. She was asked what a woman is. Tell us what a woman is. And she said she couldn't do it. I, I'm sorry. I've got some college education. I've got a degree in airfield management. I've got associate degree in television and radio broadcasting. I've got uh, training and schooling on electrical circuit board level repairs. I used to know all the Ohm's laws and all the other electrical and broadcasting theories, had them imprinted on the back of my eyelids. I could recite them and work them out and work the math by with no problems without even using a damn calculator. I've spent years working with radar miles and figuring out tolerances for inertial navigational units and how to figure out, uh, how making certain that fighter aircraft can get from point A to B and drop, and kill enemies, drop their airplanes out of the sky. Okay, I got training on how to tell a pilot all the way up to the rank of the two-star general when they when what they're doing is right or wrong. So if I can define what a woman is, how is it somebody, a Supreme Court justice or woman nominated to sit on the Supreme Court, not know, be able to define what a woman is? But like I said, Sarah Huckabee there, Huckabee Sanders, she's managed to piss off some people. Okay, I have. Uh, okay, so back to what's going on here. I'll return that phone call later on. Let's see here. What was I going to? Oh, I was going to share this screen. All right. Governor's executive order bans the use of non-gendered terms in state documents. Ooh, the left does not like this one bit. Saying she's taking a stand against woke nonsense, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed an executive order banning terms like pregnant person and birth giver from state documents. Okay. What is this not sharing the screen? What's okay. Oh, I see what happened here. There we go. My phone got caught up behind. Anyway, the Republican governor called the non-gender terms insulting to women and said they deny basic biology and basic grammar. Instead, Sanders said state officials should use pregnant women. The ban list also includes terms such as chest feeding, body fed, person fed, human milk, birth person, laboring person, menstruating person, wimixin or women, spelled with an X or a Y. State officials should instead use accurate, female affirming alternatives according to the executive orders. Executive order states XX chromosomes is an XX chromosome, and there are things only women can do, like perform the miracle of birth. When asked, Sanders said there was one specific instance from the Arkansas Department of Health using one of the now banned terms, but she did not provide any further details. So some libtard in the Arkansas Department of Health decided to put it out. Doesn't matter if there's one, is that not enough? Sanders said. How many times should a woman have to be insulted before we stand up and say we've had it? Like it shouldn't even take one time. Uh, a Google search of some of the terms now banned by the executive order shows the Arkansas Department of Health's website using pregnant people in a post on COVID-19. In addition, the state document 2021 regulations from the State Board of Health on milk banks uses the term donor human milk, defining as milk expressed and donated by lactating women. Now, here comes the libbies. This executive order feels like a political posturing, really more of a political stunt to gain support from, some followers. Dr. Unpronounceable Hazara, assistant professor at University of Chicago. Oh, geez, University of Chicago. Gee, go to a liberal college in a liberal city in a liberal state to find someone to quote who specializes in infectious diseases and global health. If Governor Huckabee Sanders was truly, committed to improving the lives of people who get pregnant in the state of Arkansas, I'd expect to see actual investment in that care, expanding access to prenatal care for everyone. So let's see who else is getting upset about this. Okay. Yes, Dolores Wilk, executive director of the Central Arkansas Pride, which describes itself as a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization that's been building a welcoming community for the LGBTQIA plus Arkansans for more than 11 years, said the executive order is very exclusionary to non-binary and trans people. This is science. The human experience is more than just biological male and female. There are third genders, multiple identities, and that concept is critical to the human experience. And if anyone is versed in medicine and mental health, they will recognize that. This reminds me of a sci-fi short story that I read. God, it had, let's see here. It was probably 50 years ago. Maybe not. I can't remember. At least 30 years ago, because I know I read it before I met my wife. So sometime between 30 to 50 years ago, I read it. Um, People would go into the, a closet every 3 days or a small dressing room, not a closet, but let's call it a dressing room every 3 days or so. And the reason why they had to go into this, they'd have to strip down to their underwear. That was the impression they gave. And their alternate identity would take over their body, who may have a different style of dress and different styles of activities they'd like to perform. And I was telling the story of the one guy, the main character in this, who's one of his alternate identities liked to skydive. But he was afraid of heights. So he's trying to make it so his alternate identity there couldn't go skydiving. Because what if he died? What if this guy had a parachute failure? Well, it'd be all right for his alternate identity to die having a parachute failure, but why should he die because his alternate identity had a parachute failure? And the alternate identity was like, well, how dare you have the right to tell me I can't do something I want to do? So they were two alternate identities suing each other in the same body, suing each other in courts before judges and juries. They each had alternate identities. Oh my God. Now, it wasn't Harrison Bergeron. Um, now this was it, it wasn't that story that this it was just one of them short stories that like wow, you know, who who thinks this way? When I read that story, it's like who who would ever think that way? We're starting to get to that point here. Multiple identities. There are third genders. There are multiple identities. These are things that were diagnosed as mental illnesses. And they should be diagnosed as mental illnesses. These are not normal people. Yeah, I wish it was a short story. It wasn't but maybe 5 or 6 pages long, 7 pages. I mean, it wasn't a really long story. Um, Tyre, but yeah, yeah. Please, Tyre, yo, let's make shame great again. Mental health. If you're versed in mental health, you ought to recognize that these people are sick. They've got mental delusions. Okay, there's something wrong with them. Now, and when we get the government, when the slippery slope argument here, when the government gets to the point that it's going to sit there and put in its official documentation that you've got to use all this terminology that destroys different people. Okay, Neil. Yep. I'm Graybeard. I'm Gray and Blackbeard. Okay. All right. Let's see here. These people are nuts. These people are absolute nuts. Oh well, whatever. Whatever flips their trigger. Um. Okay. So what we got? All right. Now then. Uh we've had. we're going to take a leap back here to last March. Okay. This is a headline from last March. And share screen. Lord Babyface. Congress overturns DC crime bill with President Biden's help. Remember this? Mayor Bauer and the Democrats that control the District of Columbia, they're trying to rewrite the criminal code because they were, let's see here. Did they have an article? Did they say exactly what was? Okay, let's see here. They wanted to overhaul DC's criminal statutes with provisions to reduce maximum penalties for crimes like armed hijacking, carjacking, from 40 years down to 24, which supporters argue is in line with actual sentences handed down. There's also objections expanding the right to jury trials to misdemeanors, offenses which would overtax, yada, yada, yada. Um, they're also reducing gun crime convictions or bail, getting rid of bail. You know, you get arrested, you're handed a ticket, and you're handed right back out again on the streets. Um, there's a lot of things that DC has over the years done, and it was so bad that the Democrats in the House and Senate actually supported a bill that, because District of Columbia is overseen by the House. And there's a lot of fussing and fuming about that. Taxation without representation. We don't have anybody actually with a vote in Congress, yada, yada, yada. We've got a representative in name only there, yada, 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 yada. Well, hey, you don't have to live in D.C., okay? And no, D.C. cannot become a state on a simple vote of the Congress. It'd have to pass the constitutional amendment. Okay? And if you really, really, really and truly, with the Democrats really and truly, I know I'm sidestepping here, wanted to give the residents of the District of Columbia the right to vote and have representation, okay, then uh, give the land back to Maryland and Virginia. Everything but where the federal offices lie. Give back the residential neighborhoods back to the individual states. Give the residential neighborhoods back to the individual states, and where the federal property is, that is now DC. Oh, no, no, we want to have another state. We want to have a 51st state. But that's not the way it's going to work. Not just on a simple vote of the Congress. So quit, BSing or attempting to BS into people believing that all it takes is a simple vote of the Congress and a signature by the president. That's not the way it works. Read the Constitution, idiots. So anyway, da 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 da. So that's back in, just March. So in 2022, 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, and so on, especially since 2020, the Democrats in D.C. and in quite a few major cities, were reducing crimes, what it took to actually be considered a crime. Well, let's skip forward now to October. So that's what? January, February, March. So that's 3, 10, 7 months. 7 months later. And The D.C. mayor announces new tough on crime legislation. Whoa. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser unveiled her new Addressing Crime Trends Now Act Now, under mounting pressure from the community to keep criminals accountable and to curb rising crime. The legislation will expand the Metropolitan Police Department's capabilities to limit loitering, declare drug-free zones, amplify penalties for certain acts. Amplify penalties. Oh, step penalties up. Well, isn't that a good thing? Some of the legislation will roll back certain initiatives passed after the death of George Floyd in police custody. Bowser said the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Act of 2022 doesn't match the everyday practicings of safe policing. Well, when you tell the police they can't arrest somebody that they watch walking out of stores with bags filled with shoplifted items, when grocery stores like I think it's called the Giant will no longer carry brand name anything. They'll only carry store brands in an effort to reduce shoplifting. When you CVS or Walmart, everything over in the health and beauty aids section is behind locked glass or plexiglass, to where you have to get somebody to come out, unlock it, and hand it to you, and then lock it right back up again. Because otherwise, the stuff was walking out of the store so much that they couldn't shouldn't the state Puerto Rico. Dana, Puerto Rico doesn't want to become a state. They keep turning it down. And traditionally, states have always been entered into the union in even numbers, not just one at a time, traditionally. Okay. Uh, so, yeah, they're finding out that a lot of these social justice, defund the police garbage that they passed to uh, placate Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all these protesters. Remember this Summer of Love and how many billions of dollars of damage these idiots did protesting across the country? Of course, those weren't insurrections, but anyway. Act Now will reinstate the law that makes it unlawful to wear a mask for the purpose of committing criminal acts, intimidating or threatening other people, or causing fear. Additionally, the legislation states that penalties will ensue for mass organized retail theft. Under the new law, it will be illegal for any person to organize a theft for profit scheme by recruiting or directing other individuals to commit organized retail theft. As of Monday, robbery is up 70% in the district, while overall violent crime is up 41%. Now, the legislation must receive 7 votes, but they're not certain they're going to get all 7. They're hoping they'll get all 7. They want to get all 7. In addition to the Act Now legislation, the mayor is also calling on the council to move forward with a Safer, Stronger Amendment Act, which provides additional tools to prevent and stop crime. Well, if you want to prevent crime, If you want to prevent crime, tell your business owners to be armed. That'll stop a lot of robberies. When you arrest somebody for committing a crime, put their asses in jail. Don't write them a ticket and tell them to come report back in 90 days to see a judge. Put their asses in jail and make them post a bond. But poor people can't afford the bond, then poor people can't afford to commit the crimes. Think about it. Hey, Badger, how's it going? Morning, Data. But let these people, and let's see here. Now, there's some more points of this. Okay, here's some more points on this bill that she wants to get through. All right. Limit loitering by reinstating the ability of the MPD chief to declare drug-free zones for 120 hours, to prohibit people from congregating on public space for the purchase, sale, or the use of illegal drugs. The establishment of temporary drug-free zones can interrupt this activity and allow neighborhoods to clean up and reclaim public space. Now, I do have a problem with this. Okay. I don't like loitering laws. Okay. A public sidewalk is a public sidewalk. If I want to sit out there, stand out there, talk to my friends, do whatever on the public sidewalk, then by God, I've got the right to do that. You can't tell me the city, the police don't have the right to tell us I can't do that. Now, if I'm out there impeding the traffic of other people, that's a different story. But if there's two or three of us sitting out there, if we're sitting on the door stoops, we're sitting on the front porch, if we're, whatever, and we're not harassing people, we're not impeding their other people's progress up and down the streets, that it's public use, it's public property. You want to free up and areas from drug use, from drug sales. Arrest the drug dealers. Put their asses in jail. Make it difficult for them, not on citizens, to use public areas. I know, Tyre. Creating criminal penalties for organized retail theft, including establishing a new crime for directing organized retail theft. Then, lower the amount of retail that can be stolen before it goes from a misdemeanor that's a ticketed item to going to actual jail time. When you say, oh, you can steal up to $1,000 and it's not a real crime yet at $995, but it's a real crime at 1,001, you're sending the wrong message. You steal a $50 item, it's shoplifting. You steal a $100 item, it's shoplifting. You steal a $2 candy bar, that's a different story. Junior walks out the store with the $2 candy bar, a $2 Hot Wheel. Yeah, that's still wrong. Things got to take care of that. But you don't need to take Junior to jail over a Hot Wheels car. Junior walks out the door with a Lego set. Now that's a different story. Hey Wiley, how you doing today? Or Willie? Morning. Now this is going okay. Reinstating the law that makes it unlawful to wear a mask for the purpose of committing criminal acts, intimidating or threatening other people, or causing fear. Now, given the less propensity, especially coming up into COVID season, of wanting to require everybody to wear a mask, yeah, okay. Let's see. This new legislation clarifies the distinction between a serious use of force and incidental contact with neck, ensures officers can review their body-worn camera footage prior to writing their initial police reports in certain circumstances. It makes permanent clarification of vehicular pursuit and defines what information will be posted publicly related to officer discipline and more. Personally, I think all uh, officer discipline needs to be made publicly available. All officer discipline. There Anybody that works for the government, anything you do at work is not a secret. Your work life is not a secret. You've been written up 101 times for being late to work. That should be known to the public. That you've got a cop, you've got a fireman, you've got an office worker, you've got a secretary that isn't showing up to work on time or calling out sick all the time. Now, all that stuff, anything dealing with an officer, especially with any official, any government employee, their disciplinary records needs to be 100% public information. And let's see what else is in here. Stronger removes requirements all youth possess of firearms for the courts to determine if secure detention is appropriate for the youth who commit a crime of violence or dangerous crime, and restores the ability of the court to consider whether youth charged with a crime of violence or dangerous crimes are themselves a significant risk of harm, such that detention is appropriate. If the kid committed a violent act, I don't care if he hit him with his fist, feet, club, or gun. A violent act is a violent act. And to say, well, he only used his fist, he only used his feet, he didn't use a gun or a knife, he didn't use a club, or he only used a stick, he only used a baseball bat. No, a violent crime is a violent crime. Did the person have to seek medical attention? Did the person have bruises? It's a violent crime. Oh, now, did I hurt his feelings because I said something? That's not a violent crime. A Washington State Senator was arrested. I think you can still buy candy. I think I just bought a candy bar here not too long ago for. I think I paid $1.50 for it at the Walmart for a candy bar. But yeah, you can buy candy bars for $2. Uh, See, as an example of some of the stuff going on in D.C. though, that is making this so tough for the people is stuff like this. In February, Chanel at City Center was the target of a flash mob. Over a dozen people were caught in surveillance cameras running into the store, setting off a fire extinguisher and stealing products. The giant on Alabama Avenue in D.C. announced earlier this year is pulling most national name brand products from its shelves. CVS said there has nearly empty shelves and inventory due to repeated issues of theft. They stole the whole store. There's nothing. Can't even get water, talking about CVS. Retailers across the country reported more than $112 billion in lost or stolen inventory in 2022. $112 billion. Tell me that doesn't hurt our country, because that's $112 billion that they raise prices on everything else to make up. That's a tax. That is a tax on everybody. Okay, get back over here to this screen. Discount Milky Way Dark Special. Ooh, my wife loves those. Oh, everybody's taxes are going up. I was telling the wife, since I'm being put on a very fixed income, the wife and I were sitting down the other day, and it's like, okay, we've got to the our impromptu and impulse buying has got to get we've got to be a little more careful with impulse buying. Do we really need to have this type stuff? You know, uh, that $30 you dropped on the kid on toys for the grandkid. Do we really need to have that? Did he really need that $30 toy? We've got to look at some of this stuff. All right, let's see here. Now, so we've done the no gun for you, and the I can see clearly now. The fog has lifted from my eyes. Let's hit the last section of the trilogy that I posted there. The you know, we don't need no education. Teachers leave those kids alone. Not tired. If that's the only reason why you want a wife, man, it's not worth it. Oh, I know ammo's gone way up. And well, the wife and I had to have that conversation because, you know, the the bills are getting the 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 bills aren't going away, It's when she decides that she's going to fully retire, we're going to vastly reduce our cell phones, and we're going to I'm already trying to convince her to go to get a Roku to let us go to online streaming, get rid of cable, keep up the internet, but get rid of the cable, cut that cord. Now, when you sit there and you uh, $600 a month on cell phones, cable, internet, and other luxury items, that that $600 should be able to be reduced quite a bit. Why the only reason why we have cable, the sole reason we have cable right now is because the wife I can't find a way of getting the wife the channels that she wants streaming without costing nearly as much as the cable does. Because I don't watch that much television anymore. I really don't. I watch either DVDs or watch movies that I've downloaded, or or I stream things. But that's me. She's not a big streamer. All right, so let's see here. I want to share this screen. If she could get her Hallmark channels, we probably would do that, Retro. If I could get her all of her Hallmark channels on Amazon Prime, I'd probably do that. To where, all she's got to do is, as easily as she does now for her Hallmark stuff, she'd be a happy person. So now she watches the nighttime crap on Hallmark and GAC. All right, and we're going back to Oregon. Going back to making fun of Oregon. Woke Oregon school chiefs suspend the need for high schoolers to prove math, reading, and writing skills to graduate for 5 more years. The State Board of Education ruled that students will no longer have to fulfill essential skills requirement to graduate. In order to earn a diploma, graduating school students were formerly required, and this, all right, to earn standardized testing scores indicating proficiency in reading, writing, and math. Now they just have to show that they know how to protest, wear dresses, makeup, and be weird. Oregon school chiefs have again suspended the need for high schoolers to prove their math, reading, and going graduate. The school board voted last week to continue the suspension for another 5 years, so they've already done this once for 5 years, amid claims that they were unfair on minority students who don't test well. Screw white students who don't test well. We got to make sure that these dumb minority students, the black students, the Hispanic students, we got to make certain that they can get out in this world with a high school diploma and not be able to read, write, or do math. That's what this country needs. We don't need educated people. We need stupid people who write X's for their names. We need people who don't know how to add two and two. We need people who don't know how to read. We need people out there who use you know man, there's a lady that was on YouTube that used to do skits about uh, how people try and pronounce people's names, you know because they were uh, Aaron. Yeah, you remember that one, Aaron, that skit. But that's Keenan and Kel, I believe, that did that. I'll have to check into that, Retro. Thank you for that. But this, in order to earn the diploma, graduating school students were previously required to earn standardized test scores indicating the proficiencies, but this is put on pause during the pandemic as standardized tests weren't happening and school closures. Oh, standardized tests could have happened. Just some places, some teachers didn't want to do them. So for the next 5 years, any employer hiring anybody that went to school in Oregon that quote unquote graduated from Oregon, you better give them a literacy test and a basic mathematics test to make certain that the person you're hiring can actually do the job. Can can you imagine having to have somebody, because even here at the hotel where I work, back in the employee areas, we got signs up. Signs required by the federal government, signs required by the state government, signs required by the county government, signs put up that are required by the city governments. All these employment signs and safety signs. Then you have your hazmat signs, your MDCs. All these signs are sitting up there. Hey, Duck Dog. Key and Peele, yeah. You've got these signs there, and we've got them in English, we've got them in Spanish, and we've got them in Gujate. And what is Gujate? Gujate is for our non-English proficient housekeepers who read and speak Gujate. It's an Indian dialect. Opponents of the essential skills requirement argued it was harmful to students of color, students with disabilities, and those with learning English as a second language. Oh, you mean like illegals? So blacks, illegals from any country, and Hispanics. It was harmful to make certain that they knew how to read, write, and do math in English, in our common language. It was harmful to make certain that they could do that in order to graduate. Remember, there was a movie, Idiocracy, a few years back? There are times I honestly believe we're sliding right into that. Yeah, math is racist. Board members underscored the state mandated standardized tests will be still administered to most, not all, to most high school students, but they won't be used to determine whether a student has the skills necessary to graduate. The only thing we're suspending is the inappropriate use of how these assessments were being used. Listen, it's a pass or fail. Did you pass the test? Then you can graduate with a diploma. Did you fail the test? No. You can't graduate with a diploma. You're 18 years old and you don't want to come back to school, that's up to you. You can quit coming back to school. That's on you. But we're not going to give you a diploma saying you graduated if you can't read, do math, and write. If you can't do the three R's, we're not going to say that you graduated from our school district or from our state school system. I really think it's in the best interest of the Oregon students. Hundreds of people submitted public comments urging the board to reinstate the standards. But the school board chair, Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, described the pushback as being a campaign of misinformation. Ah, gee whiz, Guadalupe Martinez Zapata. Yeah, I wonder why they think that is misinformation. During her September meeting, she likened a rhetoric about cultural and social norms being the underlying reason for underperformance on assessments by systemically marginalized students to racial superiority arguments. It's not, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're a racist if you think everybody needs to learn how to speak English. You're a racist if you think they need to be able to write in English. You're a racist if you think that they need to be able to do math. But numbers are numbers. Yeah, you're more than right. Idiocracy turned out to be. I when I watched that movie, I stood there and I shook my head the whole time. It's like this is who whoever wrote this movie had to be drunk and high and suffering from a concussion all at the same time. It turned out they were just being Nostradamus. Uh, a former gubernatorial candidate, Christine Dazen, said it's not bigoted, it's not racist to want your student to be able to actually learn. No, that's called, if that you've got a child in school, you want them to learn. You want them to be able to do better in life than what you're doing. If you don't know how, if you are an immigrant to this country, if you are illiterate in English, you don't know how to read and write in English, and you want your child to live here in the United States, you want them to learn how to read and write in English. It's like when I lived in Germany for those 3 years. Granted, I took German in high school. Granted, my father spoke German. He didn't speak High German, which is what we were taught in school. He spoke Low German. I was being taught High German in school. So when I got to Germany, what German I did not already know when I got there, I picked up fairly quickly. And I could guess well enough at the way the German syntax is to make heads or tails out of things. But if I was to live in Germany, I'd want my son to learn German, how to read it, how to write it, how to speak it. The overhaul of skills requirement is part of a bigger issue, as education officials are now considering equity grading instead of the traditional A to F scale. They're now moving forward with an agenda that says if you cheat, you can't be flunked, but if you don't show up, you don't get a zero. They're not going to have a homework that they grade because having homework is somehow viewed as being inequitable. The reason why I keep muting there is I'm either coughing or sneezing. Um, yeah, not really, Neil. I have to disagree with you because uh, your whole sentence structure is totally different between the two. Badger, uh, Octu. Oh, really? The guy that did King of the Hill wrote that? Okay. Badger. There was what was I was either reading I was reading something this morning or last night when I was looking at this article or saw something on video or something. Anyway, they're talking about the need for revamping the American school system because they say, well, the American school system, the 12 years of school, is to teach people to be worker bees, not to be successful at life. And they pull up some quote from some 1900s, early 1900s, late 1800s millionaire. I don't remember which one right now, just so I'm not going to falsely attribute it, saying that he didn't want the school system to turn out educated people. He only wanted them to turn out workers. Well, they're not even turning out workers at this rate. When if your skin color is this is going to be your grade. This is you're going to be your minimum grade. But if your skin color is that's going to be your maximum grade. All right. Or in order for you to get the same grade as this other person, you can't do the same work. You have to do better work. Or if you can't, or if you do worse work, you'll get the same grade as someone else. Um, yeah, the school system needs the liberals since the 1960s. I mean, uh, the past 80 years, they've all but destroyed the American educational system. Way back machine, 1970s, when I started high school. Dress code for the boys. Hair could not touch the the hair could not touch that big bone at the base of your neck. If they ran your finger down and they hit that bone and there was still hair peeking out, your hair was too long. If your hair touched the lowest opening of your ear, your hair was too long. If your sideburns extended past that lowest opening, your sideburns were too long. Mustaches, beards, forget it. No, not the collarbone. No, down the back of your neck. Okay, just just above your shoulders. You got that uh, sort of big bone that pops up there just above your shoulders. Jeans, boys could wear jeans, but they had to be of a uniform color, no holes or patches. No t-shirts were allowed. As outer shirts, you had to wear either a button-down shirt or a polo style shirt. Had to have sleeves that came at least to the bend in your elbow. Girls, uh, if they wore skirts, the skirt had to come within a half inch of the middle of the kneecap. If they raised their arms over their heads, both arms up over their head, okay, no midriff could be exposed whatsoever. Girls could wear slacks, dress slacks, pantsuit style, but they couldn't wear jeans. This was the dress code for a farming community. This wasn't a big city. This was a poor farming community. And that was the dress code. Homework. Every kid had homework every night. Very rarely did I ever go home without homework. Okay, now, I mean, my God, you're lucky if you can get and heaven to help, I mean, now you're lucky if you get a girl to wear a bra to school and a shirt that doesn't show her nipples through them. And a skirt, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, they can wear a skirt. Just please, girls, please wear panties. Now, that's today's schools. That's today's schools. And the boys' dress codes, there are no dress codes anymore, as far as I can tell. For what I see them wearing to what the kids wear to school, except for charter schools where they have school uniforms, or private schools where they definitely have school uniforms. And I, to me, just requiring a kid to wear a polo shirt and pants that don't have holes and are not sagging below your butt is a good thing. That's a bare minimum. That should be a bare minimum. Badger, the longest I ever went without a haircut was 2 years. And I was so glad to get my one, and that's because the all barbershops but one was closed in town. Now I never skipped school. Even on senior skip day, I didn't skip school that day. So now the schools are doing so much that are hurting the kids. But, but, the, how many of y'all remember when the Scholastic book fairs used to come around to your schools? Man, I looked forward to those. I really and truly did. Scholastic book fair, man. I'd be doing extra chores around the house for weeks trying to talk my mom and dad out of $5. I'd try to talk them out of five, but I'd be happy if I got two. So I could buy books at the Scholastic Book Fair. Oh, the book bus. Hey, when that book bus come rolling around Wiley, man, I was out there. I was looking for the Asimov. I was looking for, the Arthur Clarke. I mean, I was looking for those. Scholastic is being criticized for censoring certain book titles. We don't pretend this solution is perfect. All right, and what are they talking about? First of all, this first sentence. The issue of book banning in the USA has been amplified once again. And we'll just stop it right there. I will say this until I'm blue in the face. There is no such thing as book banning in the United States. You can go and buy any book you want to buy out on the open market. You can go and buy any book you want to buy. It's out there. You can order there's certain, Amazon won't allow certain books to be sold uh, in their system, as I found out. There's some books I wanted to buy, and Amazon doesn't carry them. I had to go and order them through a book dealer downtown. There is no such thing as banned books in the United States. You cannot go to jail for owning a book in the United States. You don't go get arrested for owning a book. I don't care what the name of the book is. You won't go to jail for owning it. You can own books on how to build bombs, how to blow up people, how to murder your spouse, how to get rid of dead bodies. You can look up books and buy books on any subject that you would want to. And there's nothing going to happen to you for owning them. The issue is what books will be bought and paid for using tax dollars and given to children to read at government taxpayer funded schools. That is the question. You can get the Anarchist Cookbook there, Neil. Yes, you can get it. I've got a copy of it. I've had a copy of it for quite a few years. So yeah, you can get a copy of it. And if you got a copy of it, you won't go to jail for owning it. It's on now. If you own it and you do something stupid, then will the fact that you own that book and you did something out of that book be used against you in a court of law? Yes. But just owning the book won't get you sent to jail. All right, back to here. After children's book publisher Scholastic created a separate and crucially optional section for its elementary school book fair for books written by and or about people of color. Bullshit. Nobody cares if it's about people of color. Nobody cares if the author's black, red, green, purple, Asian, Hispanic, and nobody cares. That's not an issue. And if they want to have books about black people, if they want to have books about Asians, they want to have books that have, the protagonist is a black person, is a Hispanic, is a white, Asian, Guatemalan, Egyptian, Norwegian, whatever. That's not an issue. Nobody cares. And LGBT people. The decision by the Scholastic has sparked fury from groups who oppose book bans. There is no such thing as book bans, as they believe the decision promotes censorship and only encourages lawmakers to try to restrict subjects of race, gender, and sexual orientation in schools. Yes, yes. Uh, Restrict subjects in schools. Yes. If you as a parent or legal guardian of a child, wants that child that you are responsible for, to read My Two Mommies, My Three Daddies, My Shadow is Purple, Mommy Sucks Dick on the Subway for dinner, whatever, that's up to you. Go, use your money, buy the book, hand it to your child, sit down, pull them up on your lap and read it to them or read it with them in the privacy of your home. Do it. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out. Hey, JoJo. Actually, a couple of those are real book titles. The only one wasn't about my mom sucks. Okay. I don't, I do. Do I consider that bad form to be reading books? Some of those books to your kids at home. Yeah, I do consider that's not something I would do for my child or my grandchild. And if my son or daughter-in-law were to do that to my grandchildren, I would, look at them a little bit and say, "Hey, are you? Let's talk about this, okay?" But I'm not going to go into your house across town or down the street or even across the street and go through your personal library and tell you what you can and cannot read. I'm not going to pull up your Kindle, your tablet, your cell phone and see what books you've got on Audible or Kindle. I'm not going to do that because it's none of my damn business. You read what you want to read in the privacy of your home or wherever you're doing it. As long as it's bought with your money. Your money bought it, you're happy with it, more power to you. It's what's brought into our schools that matters. And these are the same people that are saying that they want kids to graduate school not being able to read, not being able to write, not being able to do mathematics, but they want to give them books promoting LGBTQ lifestyles, or they want to give them books on how to be racist. Black superiority, Hispanic superiority. Everybody's superior to the white guy. White man's oppressed. All white people are racist because of their skin color. All white people are bad because they were born white. Books placed in this optional section include I Color Myself Different by Colin Kaepernick. And I Am Ruby Bridges by ACLU, Ruby Bridges. Okay, whatever. Because scholastic book fairs are invited into schools where kids can purchase books on their own, these laws create almost impossible dilemma. Back away from these titles or risk making teachers, librarians, volunteers vulnerable to being fired, sued, or prosecuted. You don't bring them onto school property because then now that is the school district endorsing them books. Okay? If Scholastic Book Fairs, if Scholastic Books wants to make these books available for people to buy, make make them available on your website to buy and have shipped to your house. And guess what? No one will care. No one will care. But don't sell them through the school. Don't sell them through the schools. Yeah, you're right about that, Wiley. If you brought out that one, They may be about that, Badger. They may be fine with that. Uh, the decision has been heavily criticized by advocacy groups who believe the move will only encourage those behind book bans. Ah, I get so. This is not journal. This article is written by who? Victoria Cornell. Okay. Uh, Bookworm era. All right. So I don't know if this is at least it's not CNN or something like that. Okay. But this is supposed to be journalistic and not an opinion piece. If this is supposed to be an actual journalism, then stop talking about book bans when there are no such thing as book bans. Okay, let's see who is this. The ALA, American Library Association, says the vast majority of attempts to censor books in their library relate to titles written by or about a person of color or LGBTQ person. What was the subject matter of that book about or by a person of color? Was it about racism? Was it about all whites are racist? And you're just, it's the subject matter. It's what that doesn't matter who wrote the book. I don't care if Charles Nelson Riley, and if you know who that was, you've given away your age, wrote the book or not. It's what was in the book that matters. Just because a person is a person of color or LGBTQ plus 10 dozen whatever, that doesn't matter. What is the subject matter of the book? That is what matters. What is the book about? What does the book preach, teach, espouse? That is what matters. And that is what determines whether or not a book is suitable to go into the public library that's funded by our tax dollars. Meanwhile, Color Change, a racial justice advocacy group, i.e., black supremacy, released a statement slamming the decision. It read, the inclusion of black and queer characters, authors, and stories in school book fairs is not optional. School book, school, operative term, school, yes. That is the primary term there. That is the term that matters. School. We do not put these things into the school system for children, not being used by tax dollars. The National Black Justice Coalition shared their condemnation. Their statement read, censorship is anti-democratic and undermines one's freedom to learn. We condemn Scholastic for its decision to segregate books on race, gender, and sexuality at book fairs, and disappointing effort to appease the loud minority using politics to attack children and the public schools to turn out voters using ignorance, fear, and hate. No, it's our wanting to protect our children from having your trash in their brains. We don't, these are our children that are, again, what you want to buy for your child and make available for your child to read at your home is up to you. More power to you. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out. I'm not going, I don't care. I just don't care. If you want to poison your kids' minds, that's up to you. I don't want it in the school system to where my kids can be checking it out. Where teachers tell my kids they have to read it because it's in the library. Well, that book must be fine to read because it's in our library. This book's available to my fifth grader to read. Therefore, it's available for fifth graders to read. Therefore, I'm going to assign it to be read by the fifth graders because I think that the fifth graders need to learn how to perform oral sex on each other. Because we know that's what these teachers do today. So if Scholastic, as a person who grew up in my school years, loving the Scholastic school fairs, loving them. I couldn't wait to get that flyer showing all the books that'd be available. And then going home and going over it with my mom and dad. And I actually read several grade levels higher than I was. And my mom and dad would approve books for me to read above my grade level. Sometimes. I love these, but Scholastic. If you want to make these books available for sale, fine. Make them available for sale through your website. Okay, when you send out your flyers, say, and for additional books are available at www.scholasticbooks.com. And parents can go online and order the books using their Visa card, their MasterCard, their debit card, their PayPal account, and have them shipped to their house. They don't have to wait for the book fair to come rolling around, or they can order the books afterwards. I just haven't. I want to check something out here. Okay. Scholasticbooks.com. There is such a thing. All right, what we got here? And let me share this page. All right. Scholastic Book Clubs. Shop. Scholastic Book Clubs, the Teacher Store, Scholastic Store, Scholastic Gift Cards. All right, so let's look at the Scholastic Store here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Let me embiggen this. Okay, no thanks. I'm not going to be doing anything. Bestsellers box sets, new releases, gift cards, book fair e-wallets, Scholastic Parents, book fairs. Okay, refer a friend, bulk. Okay, shop by format and subject matter. All right, format, box sets, subjects and genre. Here we go. Nonfiction, fiction, annals, comic books, graphic novels, diversity. Let's take a look, see what they got available under the diversity section. Okay, let's see here. Just like Jesse Owens. Okay. Grades K to 2, $17.99 a copy. Donna Esmeralda, Who Ate Everything. I Love My Beautiful Hair. Frankie's World. You Are Enough. You just don't know everything Jilly P. Princess Truly series. Set me free. Let's see here. The Dreamer. The Shuri chapter book. Okay, let's see here. Wings. Pre-K through grade 3. Then we got some da 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 da. Uh, let's see. Let me try this up here in the search. LG. All right, LGTP graphic novels. Let's look, see what they got here in the graphic novels. Witch Boys, Stars Have Eyes, Stars in Their Eyes, A Girl from the Sea, Heartstopper. Heartstopper Volume 4, Number 5, Mermaid Days. Blood Moon Huntress. Excuse me. So, they've got all kinds of LGBTQ plus books here available. That's just the graphic novels. Okay. Let's get rid of the graphic novels. Let's just look at LGBTQ. Oh, let's look to see what they got available for middle school here. Okay. Rick. And of course the rainbow there. Drama, One True Way, Parachute Kids, The Heartstoppers. Meow or Never, a Wish novel. Okay. Scholastic's got all kinds of gay books, LGBTQ. They got 2 pages worth here. And these are just the ones from middle school. These are just the middle school. So they got 2 pages of middle school books. What they got here? So if you really want to own books like this for your children, you can buy them and have them shipped straight to your house. So why would you want to bring these into into the schools? If you want this book so badly for your child, here's how you can get them. Here is how you can get them with no problem. Okay? So don't tell me that these books are banned, because they're not banned. They're just not fit to go be purchased or sold through a school. You can still get them if you want them. All right. And now the flip side of this. Now we know the federal government, they hold a lot of purse strings, because the federal government, they gather in all these taxes from everybody, then they dole them back out to the states. Federal highway funds, federal funds for this, federal funds for that, federal funds for your schools, federal funds for your hospitals, for your medical, and everything else. But if you want these federal funds that were taken from your state's occupants at a point of a gun, which don't pay your taxes, you go to jail, then you have to do whatever it is the bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. says you have to do with it. Okay, you've got to do it. Well, the Tennessee GOP is willing to reject millions in funding if it avoids complying with federal strings. Nashville, Tennessee. The Tennessee Republican leaders are escalating their calls to reject millions of federal dollars rather than comply with requirements over LGBTQ plus rights, abortion access, and other hot button issues. These are in the schools. Abortion access in the schools. Already this year, the volunteer states rebuffed federal funding designed to prevent and treat HIV, and the money that goes to help clinics serving low-income women. Now the GOP lawmakers talk about cutting off 1.8 billion in federal education dollars, English that targeted to serve low-income students, English learners, and students with disabilities. I think this trend in declining federal funds is really alarming. A Democrat from Memphis. Gee whiz, why is it? Remember, when you sit there and look at the Constitution, the outline of what was given to the federal government to deal with is described in a very small area. There's not, the federal government was not supposed to be an overpowering. Okay? Uh, if, I mean, remember the 10th Amendment, ratified on 1791. Any powers not specifically given to the federal government nor withheld from the states are reserved to the respective states or to the people at large. The federal government was not supposed to be able to dictate to the states how to educate and what classes had to be taught. That was up to the states and the local communities. But once the federal government starts handing out these dollars, well, if you want this dollar, you have to teach this. If you want this dollar, you have to do this program. If you want this dollar, you have to do this. And the Democrats in the government learned very quickly that they could push their agendas by tying them to dollars. If you want to suck up my teat, this is what you have to do. Okay? And, well, unfortunately, for years, that wasn't that bad of a deal. But again, over the past 60 to 80 years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. To where there were more and more strings. Tennessee is among the 10 states that have long refused to expand Medicaid to thousands of low income, many of whom can't afford health coverage. And several years ago, many Republican led states declined to keep accepting federal money for extra unemployment insurance payouts later in the COVID-19 pandemic. But the new willingness for GOP state leaders to walk away from federal dollars over disagreements on LGBTQ plus rights, abortion, and hot button issues should be a cause for concern, said Thomas Kahn, a professor at American University. Why don't they have somebody say, nah, it's not a big concern? Because we don't want your values, what you're trying to push, taught in our schools. And if the only way we can get that federal money is to teach them classes, we don't need that federal money. We don't want your money if we have to do this. Because the agenda you're pushing is against our standards. It's against our standards. It's against what our voters want. It's against what our people want. Our community, our citizens, the citizens of County XYZ and State ABC. We don't want that taught in our schools. Therefore, if the only way to get that federal dollar is to teach that subject matter, you can keep your federal dollar. That is a problem. That is a serious problem. That is a problem that the state that I really wish the courts would tell the Supreme Court would sit there and tell the federal government, if you're handing out tax dollars to the states, you cannot tie strings to it. Your education money, okay, this is money to be used for their educational systems. Health and welfare, this is money to be used to improve your health and welfare. But you can't tie strings and say you have to provide abortion with it. Because that what you want what is what California may want to do with the money may not be what Texas needs to do with the money while providing the same health and welfare for their people. Remember, the individual states are supposed to be sovereign states, not subjective states. We're not subjects to the federal government. We don't elect a king and his court every 2, 4, and 6 years. That's not what we do. I live in Florida. What works for me in Florida would not work for Joe Blow that lives in California or Jimmy Jane up there in Portland, Oregon. All right. I want the school dollars here in Florida to teach our kids to read, write, and do math and English. Or they can't graduate. And they have to meet standards in order to graduate and say they're a graduate of the schools. Oregon doesn't want that, and it's evident. It's evident. They just want to hand out their graduation diplomas to anybody and everybody. And DC's got no problem handing them tax dollars to do it with. Because as long as they teach little Jimmy and Janie how to perform oral sex on each other, then they're perfectly fine with that. That's all DC's concerned about with their school dollars. Whereas I'm more concerned about my kid being able to and grandchildren being able to read, write, and do math and be a which he has turned out to be a quite supportive person, supporting his family, having a decent house, having a decent vehicles, being able to do what they need to do. Hell, they're getting ready to make a trip down to Disney World or Disneyland. That's great. I'm glad they're able to do that. Yeah, bring back the monarchy, Tyre. A recent example includes a dozen states or county agencies that have parted ways with tens of thousands of dollars in federal grants to help monitor teenagers' sexual behaviors and try to lower the rates of teen pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. The withdrawals come as many Republican led states have Look to remove LGBTQ plus content from classrooms and school libraries, often touting the effort is needed to fortify parental rights. If, as a parent, I'm just going back to the other way. I want my kid to be read about this. I will buy the books. I will find the time. I will teach my son. I found the time to teach my son and his wife will find the time to teach their sons. Boy, it's fun saying sons. For when saying I have two grandchildren now, not just a grandchild, but I have two grandsons. But see how this now this is a an AP article. They make it sound like it's bad. They're making this sound like it's bad that Tennessee is saying no, we won't take your dollars because we don't like the strings that are attached with it. When they ought to be making it sound bad that in order to get these tax dollars, which are stripped away from the citizens of Tennessee, the government is saying you have to comply with their wishes and comply with their demands that these subjects are taught in the schools. That's the way the article should be written. But no, it's bad that that the people of Tennessee are willing not to take the dollars in order that they don't have to teach these subjects. That's a bad thing. So, anyway, uh, let's see. I think I know who you're talking about there. Uh, is about Norton, and that was San Francisco, right? Yeah. Emperor Norton, Joshua Abram Norton, 1818 to 1880. No, that is not who I thought it was. Okay, what we got here? Resident of San Francisco proclaimed himself Norton, the first emperor of the United States. Emperor Norton after Napoleon. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, now I know who this character is. Emperor of the United States, Protector of Mexico, all self-declared. Right. Yeah, quite the interesting individual. I'll have to read up some more on him here in a little bit. But anyhow, ladies and gents, I want to thank everybody for popping out here with me today. Uh, as usual, a Wednesday stream is iffy at best tomorrow, but I'll definitely be back on Thursday. I do want to thank y'all for coming out uh, and listening to me rant and rave today. I've enjoyed myself. I had some good subjects. And now I've got to get ready. The wife is having dental work done this evening, so I've this afternoon when she gets off work. So I've got to come up with something that she can consume without putting too much pressure because she's having a tooth pulled. And she's probably going to get chicken for her third meal in a row. We're eating a lot of chicken this week. She bought a couple roasted chickens, and I've been and uh, and we're trying to get them ate up before they go bad because she bought them while I was sick, so I wasn't eating, and so we got too much leftover chicken. Anyway, guys, thank you much for coming out. I do appreciate you. All right. Uh, I may have to throw that tagline on underneath my name from now on. Now banned in Russia. Yeah, I think let's see here. Edit name and headline. So, okay. Now banned in Russia. Come on. There we go. It's there. But again, y'all have a good ones. I do appreciate you. We'll be back when we get back here. Everyone, try to have a good day. And as usual, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. And have a good day, y'all. Bye.